Okay, my outstanding friends, buckle up. This is going to be fun. Now, Harvard University is making statements about physics and about is physics broken. Now, this is Matthew Strassler, and he's from the Center for Fundamental Laws of Nature High Energy Theory Group. Now, and here's his email and so forth, his contact information, which I'm contacting him. And everybody I am contacting him will be highlighted in the book, and their responses will be shown in the book to see who was really interested and what did they think of the research that I will present. Now, here's what his statements are. This is a theoretical conversation about science with theoretical physicist Matt Strassler. Now, he's kind of wordy, so let's just go right down to, let's go right to here. He says, in particular, there's absolutely no evidence physics is broken or even that particle physics is broken. And he says the standard model, the pillars of physics, the standard model might be broken, seems a bit melodramatic. Now, he's not completely 100% against it, but I want to see how he responds to the evidence that I can show it is 100% broken. And why I say that is this right here. If light is a dipole and it is a particle, it means it has a plus and a minus and it's a particle, and electrons are pluses and minuses, not just a minus. And if the atomic core of all atoms are dipoles, not just a big positive core, and if space is filled with light particles, which I say are dipole particles coming from all luminous bodies, if light speeds up and slows down, is physics broken? Absolutely, yes it is. Let me just elaborate all of those and actually show them to you. He does calculations. Listen to this. He's talking about the standard model might be, it seems a bit melodramatic. Does adding a new wing to a house require breaking the house? Well, when a house isn't even a house, yeah, it requires starting over. Typically, you can still live in the place while it's being extended. No, you have to start over. The house wasn't built out of, it was built out of jello. It wasn't built out of stone. The standard model's many successes suggest it might survive largely intact as a recognizable part of a larger, more complete set of equations. After you get past the basic particles, you're not too far off. But muons are totally lost on the muons, totally lost on electrons, totally lost in the vacuum of space. Not a vacuum. We're scrubbing through that. That creates our global warming. Virtually everything is wrong. Our weather patterns and everything are the scrub of our atmosphere. Combustion is an expansion of gases, which brings our envelope out, which means more and more turmoil as we scrub through the vacuum, which is not a vacuum of space. It is totally saturated with the particles that I will show you. I say things are very, very broken. But he says, in any case, right now it's still too early to say anything loudly. Apparent discrepancy may not survive the heavy scrutiny coming under. There's plenty of controversy. Now listen to this. About the theoretical prediction for muon magnetism. I'm going to show you muons. The required calculations are extraordinarily complex, elaborate, and difficult. Who cares about the calculations? Let me show you the actual evidence. This is the problem with academia. It's all about numbers and about status and about trying to obscure something, basically. Okay, this goes back to 2014, and I was right around that area. I was going to the University of Geneva because we were looking into these high-energy particles. The apps basically transform a phone into a high-energy particle detector to look for these muons. They're looking for muons. And that's exactly what I'm showing you. So there is how we can detect these things. Now let me show you what these things are. Okay, let's start here. CERN and all of the big guys, they collide things together and smash them into a huge energetic ball. And from those balls, they see the Higgs fields and the little tiny particles, and they dig through all this. And these are hundreds of billions of particles hitting head-on and forming all this debris. They search through to try to find the tiniest bits, and they find a series of tiny particles, which I will show you in a moment, and they claim they are the primary elementary particles, but they have a dozen of them or so. It's not that way. There's only one, and that can be split in two. Let me show you. Don't forget, this is how they're arriving at their debris. We're using light, which is, instead of 100 billion particles, it's about 2 or 3, like a half a dozen particles. Let's just go with that. Now, as I said, we started with light. Laser light is light. There's no other way to say it. Light is light, according to Einstein and all the rest. Well, light can be accelerated, as we can see right here. Light is a particle, and we will see it in extreme detail because it is the dipole particles that I will be showing you. Now, if you can smash protons and break them down into muons and electron neutrinos and all that, I say that's what the atomic cores are actually made of. So I will explain that. Space is filled with these particles. If light is particles and light is light, it's coming from the sun. It's hitting our atmosphere, and the vacuum of space is literally filled with particles. And I will show you light can speed up, light can slow down. Is physics broken? 100%, yes. Okay, as I said, physics is very badly broken, and it needs a complete overhaul. So, as I said, I will be writing a book about physics and about every little detail about this. Now, I'm not very good with writing. I'm just not a good writer. I don't like to write. So what I will do is put in the book will be very short, but it will have just highlights of what you should take away from each one of these videos that I will link it to, so that I can explain. Visual explanations are much better than just words. I can tell you anything, and by the time I was done with words, you'd be so boggled that you would have no idea what I said. And that's exactly how academia handles this. They don't want to see evidence. They refuse to look at this. I'm not kidding you. So it's so badly broken, and the system of science is so badly broken now that people have no faith in science anymore. And this is exactly what this guy says. Okay, now, like I said, I'm going to be writing a book. I've contacted all these people, not all of them, but I've contacted a bunch of people up at Cornell. Let me just show you something about this Brookhaven National Laboratory. This is the staff directory. Now, I contacted, some of these people, but they have quite a few people to contact here. They're all different people that apparently are looking for the particles I'm just showing you at Brookhaven. Now, that's a pretty good staff. If I had a couple of them, I might be able to do all right here. Now, anyway, the reason we've lost confidence is because I don't think they're really looking for answers. I got to be perfectly honest with you. Nobody will talk to me. I contacted a bunch of these people, and Cornell and all of them, we'll find out if they contact me back. I haven't seen anything yet. So this is my rub, is that I see no interest, and I see this kind of number of people. I would think somebody here must have some question, one question from anybody in science. I can't see that. It's never happened. Not one, not a single one yet from anybody. All I've had was denials that these can't be. Just leave it to us. You're just a silly guy. So I've lost faith in science. Absolutely, 100%. Yes. Sorry, Matthew, unless you can help me, I've lost it. Now, I expect you to contact me back and present your point of view, because you have made statements, and I make statements, and I'm responding to your statements. I appreciate it, everybody in science, because I'm going to write the book, and I'm going to be, all the people here that I've corresponded to, their names will be in there, and their responses will be in there, and they'll be nothing. So far, that's the responses I've gotten. And these are from the people that are all on a .gov. I don't know if everyone is being paid by .gov, but I kind of got an idea that they are. Okay, Matthew, why have we lost faith in science and places like Harvard? Well, I can tell you why I lost faith in Harvard. They're trying to make fish fly. You see this? Harvard Medical School. They're inserting genes from an accredited medical school. We're the ones that know what we're doing. We're accredited. We're peer-reviewed. Well, they're making fish fly. I don't think that's a real good idea up there at Harvard. Now, I contacted people from Harvard they won't respond. They have a new atheist as their chaplain who says, my door is always open. I corresponded with him, says, I have things that show the things in the past. You know, as an atheist, maybe you want to look into these, which I do. It was with the mud fossils, and I have them all. This was all preserved in the Great Flood, and I have giant human beings, and I have DNA tested and CAT scanned, and I have the specimens right here. As a matter of fact, hold on, somewhere around here. Oh, here it is. Got it. All right. This is a giant human fingertip. It is a human fingertip, no question whatsoever. It's been DNA certified. That is where the apical tuft is at their special medical school up there. Maybe they can look at this. That's where the bone is. It's an offset bone because it's a thumb. This, I could get the DNA out of here, no question whatsoever. And I have the DNA test, and I have the whole palm from it. And here it is right here. You see that? That's the palm from it. It's a left hand. And this is the bumper pad around your hand. This is a little tendon that runs down. Just splay your hand out like that. That's where the thumb goes. And it was off this way right here. All right. And this was CAT scan, DNA tested. Here's the DNA test. Okay, this goes back to 2015. I had my giant humans DNA certified CAT scans, 7 CAT scans. I had the same, our normal size humans. This is the lung from a normal size human. That's a medical school up there at Harvard. Maybe they could possibly understand that's a lung. That's the depression of the heart. That is flat as a pancake because these things died in the Great Flood, which their new atheist chaplain refuses to speak to me about, and the giants, and the Great Flood, and all of his denials of what actually did happen in history, supported by Harvard, and it's just crazy. Now, have new species. I call them no-toes. The toes are built right in. And a friend of mine, Tish, has a ton of these, and I do too. They're everywhere, but you have to know how to look for them. And that's where the bone was in the back. The tibia comes down, and the fibia sits on the side, just like ours, and it breaks right off, falls right off. Mine are all like this, and so are hers. And we have these in copious quantities, and instead of having tendons, they have springs inside. Somebody engineered these, because I have all this stuff. Now, I've tried to get in touch with Harvard's Origins of Life. They refuse to contact me, absolutely refuse. Yale, I've been fighting with them for 10 years. Derek Briggs down at Yale, unbelievable. It just says, oh, these are just rocks or nothing. The DNA test doesn't mean anything. CAT scans don't mean anything. Specimens, anatomists, we don't care. They don't care. Now, I see that as a fiduciary failure. If I have all of this evidence and they just refuse to examine it, for me, if I was a student, I'd demand my money back, absolutely. And this is what should be done right now, class action lawsuits against all of the major, well, all of them really, because they are controlled as almost like a racket, a racketeering. And they keep you away from them by saying, if you're not peer reviewed, we won't look at anything, and they won't peer review us. So what do you do? And I have all this stuff, and I mean, I have it in vast quantities. And my buddy Caesar here, he's a goose. There's his feathers, everything. All this stuff is what they call feldspar. The outside coating is collagen. I've done very, very deep research on this, and I understand the nucleophilic substitution. That's his neck right there. You can't see it, but if you knew how to look at the anatomy, and you could actually deteriorate this stuff away, because it is just a smidge different than the bone and blood and so forth. Everything has just a taste different chemistry. Now, how do you deal with that? Sometimes you need to use acids and salts and so forth, soften up the stuff and scrape it away, and then you can get down to where the bone was. That's what they're doing now. They think these are concretions. I'm not kidding you. So they find a duck head or a goose head like this, and they scrape everything down and use all kind of acids and vinegars and salts and things, and then they get down and they scrape it down and they find a bone inside. Oh, look at this, it was a goose. Well, I got the whole head. I got the whole foot. I got the whole bone, including the pad on the top here that is where the soft part of the bone pushes against the other part of the bone. I have everything, but they've all transferred. This is what's called nucleophilic substitution. It's a brand new science, and it's all related to mud fossils, which I discovered 10 years ago. And not a single university will engage because they're giants. There's something that they don't want to talk about. There is no trust, should be given to academia now, none whatsoever, zero. I have found not one single academic that's honest, not a single one, zero. And when I say honest, means if they refuse to engage with this kind of evidence, I see them as either so incompetent as beyond belief or fraudulent. You take your pick. It's one or the other. You can't have this kind of evidence, which is this kind of evidence that they love to see, and then turn away from it because it's not what they want to see. That, to me, smacks of things that are not good. And it could even be criminal because they have to be in the best interests of the students, not their own best interest. They turn away from this because right away they have to say, well, we were wrong. Well, as soon as they're wrong, they're irrelevant. So they don't want to be irrelevant, so they say, I won't look. That's what we're into now. So, Matthew, I'd like to see what your response is going to be, my friend. Now, I know the mud fossils is not your area there, Matthew, but you are from Harvard, and I will present my evidence about your area, and let's see how you deal with it, because everybody else at Harvard has dealt with nothing whatsoever other than to hide. And I've addressed the deans, I've addressed all of them. So if anybody wants to say that I'm just spouting off, let's talk, let's discuss, let's debate. Let's show me why I'm wrong. Show me why I'm so silly, speaking so loudly about this and being so upset about this. What's the matter with me? What am I, crazy? Okay, so let's get into Matthew's area here. This is, as I showed you before, we can see light with the smartphones only on the extremely energetic particles, which is exactly what you're seeing. These are all extremely energetic. Up in here, you don't see any light. You don't see anything because you're not seeing the energetic concussion. Here is where the energetic concussion is. So, and here is where the energetic concussion is of a pulse red laser. These little particles are gas molecules that are in the air, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, all of that, water molecules, carbon dioxide, and so forth. But they all are made of electrons. Now, I said I will be able to cover all of these things right here, and these pictures will do all of this. If light is a dipole, and it is particles, that's a big issue. And guess what? This is light. This is light accelerating, so I'm going to show you that in a second. And these are the particles right here. So they are particles, and they are dipoles. A dipole means you got a positive and a negative, or, you know, that's basically what it is. Now, this is actually dark matter, and this is what we always considered was the concussive electron. So you have two P's, which are particles, and two holes. And they know this at Cornell. They've been, and I've tried contacting them in Brookhaven and all them, and they have not responded. So let's see what they have to say. This is light, a wave of light. The particle which we just saw sits in the front and creates a huge magnetic field around it because it is two little bar magnets. They have a mass, they have energy. The black has no interaction whatsoever other than to pull the white back. And that's what's happening here. As the light accelerated, exploded at the Venturi, the black and the white particles separated. Higgs fields were the product of this white shower coming out. The Higgs fields show up. This shows that light can accelerate. This is blue. And it slows down. Obviously, you see it's wider here and shorter up there, so it's obviously slowing down. Now, that is obviously speeding up. None of these things are allowed with Einstein. Particles are, they don't know whether light is a particle or it's a wave. They have no idea what it is. They don't know basically anything about space. If these are particles, they're coming from the sun. Light is from the sun. It means they're particles. It means space is saturated with these particles, and our atmosphere scrubs through them. They're magnetic. Our atmosphere is magnetic. Push to shove. Okay, so Matthew, this is why people say science is broken, and science in every respect is broken. Now, I just showed you the mud fossils' absolute refusal to engage, because they change everything about our history, our past, geology, the whole 9 yards. Physics is complete nonsense now. Is physics totally broken? Yes, absolutely. Everything is made of dipoles, and the dipole electron flood model really absolutely solves everything. This is nothing more than an electron, but it has a dark side. That's what a dark matter is. They keep saying we're looking for it. Look, well, there it is right there. And I'm showing it, and I can show it separate from there into its own particle, which is right up here, exactly what CERN, Fermilab want to see. When they break apart, the black ball is the exact same black ball over here, no difference whatsoever. It doesn't change whatsoever. The white one goes into a shower. Exactly what they say. Muon doesn't change, white one turns into a shower. Yep, done, case is closed. Okay, Matthew, you are a physicist, and I say that space is 100% saturated with electrons, photons, dust particles coming from the sun and all other luminous bodies. We spin in space and we are ripped forward on the arm of the Milky Way. So we have a lot of interactions, spinning around the sun, circling on our own axis, and being ripped forward through the Milky Way. All of that creates enormous interactions at our ionosphere, and that temperature is 2,700 degrees. The surface is about 100, let's say. And during the daytime, because of all of the particles that are flushing at us, we have enormous heating during the atmosphere during the day. This is no question about this. This is all true. Now, this is our solar scrub. It is not the fact that we're forcing our heat to stay in because we have carbon around it. No, absolutely not. It is the fact that our expansion of our gases, which are primarily these OH minuses out in the way out there, hydrogens that are broken down basically, oxygens that are a little bit broken up, and they are the gases that are our most outside gas. It's extremely electrical particles, tons of electrons. That's why they call the ionosphere. Ions are electrons. The sun has the same thing. Its corona all around its outer edges is millions of degrees. On the surface, only 7,000. And that's because it is scrubbing through space too. We're all being ripped through the arm of the Milky Way. It's not just sitting there stagnant in the middle of nowhere and just radiating. The reason this is getting so radiant is because it is being ripped through the galaxy. This is what upsets me. They don't even understand global warming because they think space is a vacuum. How could it possibly be a vacuum? I just showed you all the particles that are light. If those are light or particles, that's what's here. No question about it. Now, and I'm not just an idiot. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I'm not just an idiot. I go back way back, my friends, way back. And I did it as deep as you can get into the middle of it. And I got to this point where, and this was in my paper, that shows that there is nothing but dipoles. And everything had to be a dipole. There's no such thing as a gigantic positive core. All right, so dipoles, everything, and I had to do this to show that they were wrong, and it still didn't matter. You can't show anybody that they're wrong in academia. They're never going to be wrong because they're over you and they will fail you and destroy you. So I went on my own. But anyway, this was my statement. I said transfer of energy from light is to atomic vapor. This is atomic vapor. Atomic vapor is ether. I tried to be as gentle as I could with these people, but they wouldn't even, they just tried to destroy me. And I finally just said, you can't get anywhere. That's why nobody trusts science. It's just finally they're just realizing that they've been duped for so long. And they're just concocting all these crazy wormhole stories. They don't even understand gravity. Don't understand light. Don't understand space. It's not a vacuum. They don't understand light as a particle. They don't understand anything. I mean, literally, not a thing is understood. If they think that a nucleus is a big, gigantic, solid chunk of positiveness, that's insanity. It just cannot work and have one tiny little electron floating around it and it wouldn't go bang. This is what drove me crazy from day one. So, Matthew, let's see what you have to say about my statements and about my actual physical evidence, because I'm not just theoretical, my friend. I am physical. I'm a material guy, and I am showing you material evidence supporting my statements. So if you can't show I'm wrong, then you have no right to be making to be working in this field and making these claims against me without being able to overcome my evidence. And my evidence is not, you can't get around it. It's 100% positive. And Cornell and all of them, they know about it. The 2p2h particles, and they said in 2013 it was an urgent program because they found excess energy. Let me show you. And this is why nobody trusts you people. You just walk away from things. Okay, my friend Matthew, here's it is right here. Spontaneous muon emission during fission. A new nuclear radioactivity. 2011. What happened then? Well, then we went to 2013. We got neutrino interaction generators. These are things I'm going to show you as neutrinos, or I have showed you, which is the two particle, two holes, the two whites and the two blacks attached together. It's an urgent program for neutrino interaction physics. Such process is believed to be responsible for the event excesses observed by recent neutrino experiments. And that is the excesses right there that I want to harvest for free energy. And I will show you, or I have shown you already, how this device works. Very, very, very simple, very cheap, portable, 100% clean and efficient and safe. We're working with light. Now here they are again, Cornell 2018, the sterile dark neutrino. I've shown that. That is the black ball separating from the white balls. Okay, this is a galaxy, and they spin. And the reason they spin and the reason these arms fold back is because they're moving through space. And as they do, they interact with what's in front of them, and it pushes these arms back, and it wrenches the center into compression. Compression and collision causes light. The reason these bands are between is because there's push to shove, push to shove, push to shove, and they're getting closer and closer and closer, and then you can't push away anymore, so you start to glow like hell. And then you start to form what they call is the black hole, surrounded by extreme amounts of energetic particles. But the black hole is in the center. Now, these are interference patterns. They would call them through the double slit experiment. They're not interference patterns. These are push-to-shove patterns. These are resonance frequency patterns. This guy pushes these guys. This guy pushes back. In the middle is no man's land. Same thing here, same thing here, same thing here. However, we're being ripped forward like crazy. So whatever we hit in front of us could be real gooey, it could be something thin, it could be crossing paths with something. We have no idea what we're going to hit, but we're going to hit something sooner or later. And that's why some days the solar, well, let me show you the solar effect. Okay, Matthew, would you agree that if space was loaded with particles, and they are pushers and shovers, we're trying to push through, we're being ripped on the arm of the galaxy, it's pushing back against all of us. We're trying to catch up to the sun, all of these, as we spin and swirl and twist on our axis. The sun is being scraped like crazy, scrubbing through all of these particles. That's what's creating the corona. The corona is millions of degrees around the sun because it's so hot from the scrub that it's trying to get the stuff away from it, but it can't get it away because it's surrounded by space, which is just nothing more than like a soup. It's a soup. It's going through a soup of magnetic particles, pushing back against it. Push, and they're shoving back. That's what causes this to glow like crazy. And then all of their particles come against us, and its particles, and its dust, and its electrons, and its photons, and the little bits and chunks of particles, and even bigger particles. But normally, the bigger stuff gets sucked back to the sun. But they're going to have all kinds of emanations. They call it the solar wind. I can't understand how they can keep continuing to say space is a vacuum and not understand we're scrubbing. That is what's causing our global warming. It's absolute insanity to miss this. All right, here's the same guy again, Matt. He's saying that we have to just stop believing all this nonsense about science deniers. And he's saying that's not where we want our society to be. As we are seeing in spades during the current pandemic, there can be serious consequences when trust in science is broken. Trust in science is broken, rightfully so. Let me show you something about this current pandemic. Okay, Matthew, here, listen to this, my friend. This is about the National Institute of Health. Why don't we trust science? They don't talk, they don't even know about this stuff. I've talked to all kinds of doctors. I said, do you know about probiotics and how they're talking about prevention and treatment of COVID-19 from the National Institute of Health? Nope, no idea. Nobody's ever read these things. Let's go right down to the bottom line. It's very detailed, and it's very good. They're exactly correct. This is the conclusion. It supports probiotics' role. Therefore, supplementation of probiotics in high-risk and severely ill patients and frontline health workers might limit the infection and flatten the COVID-19 curve. However, currently there are no random controlled trials to demonstrate the conclusive evidence. I have been talking about this for years, how important these probiotics are, because every single molecule that goes in your body, a 100%, except perhaps oxygen, has to be worked on by bacteria. The bacteria in people's bodies is bad. That's why they have pre-existing conditions. Probiotics fix that. Now, they haven't done any random control trials, basically. It says, on the other hand, the circumstantial evidence supports the presumption that this is going to work. It could decrease the severity of COVID-19, including mortality. All right, so this is why we don't trust you guys. No, I talked to any. I haven't heard a single word about probiotics, and I posted this on. I'm subscribed to their medical stuff, and I posted it twice. They took it down. And I actually got a strike on YouTube for posting this about how probiotics, from what the National Institute of Health said. These are not my words. These are from National Institute of Health. This is just, fairly recently. But I've been talking about this for years. How probiotics are just, and they won't talk about this because they say all of your diseases end up causing a problem with your gut. It's exactly the opposite. This gut disease causes the problem in your acne is from digestive issues. Every single thing, even mood swings, the whole 9 yards. And they pretty much coming online with this now. They're pretty much agreeing with it, but nobody talks about it. This goes back to 2011, was the first one on probiotics. Hold on, let me show you. They knew about this 10 years earlier and dropped the ball. And this is what happens in academia, because it's a game. It's a game now. And everybody wants, I understand self-interest, but at some point we got to get away from this game mentality and go to what's going to help people. And like I say, 2011, they had basically the same article. Listen, watch this. See this? This is from 2011. Probiotics and immune health. And they go through basically the whole same thing again. Probiotics may provide novel approaches for both disease prevention and treatment. However, the results of clinical studies regarding probiotics are preliminary and require further confirmation. Walked away from it. That was 10 years ago. And like I said, I have done that research, and I have worked with people. And one of my good friends actually went to Harvard Medical School, and she's told me what was going on. They don't want to hear about it either. They don't want to hear anything other than what they tell you to repeat to them. Every single institution is the same now. If you diverge or change their curriculum and say, well, this is what they told me to tell you isn't right, well, they're going to fire you. And that's what's happened. And even tenured teachers that are allowed to say things and they can't be fired, they make them so that they're just irrelevant. So everybody wants a status, they want awards, they want all this and a little extra money and so forth. You're not going to get that once you speak up. I don't care about any of that stuff. So I can speak all I want. Okay, the reason people don't trust science is because they just ignore everything they don't want to hear. The whole space is filled with particles of light. I just showed you their particles. They're pluses and minuses. They push and shove. Light coming at us is slowing down. It's not that everything's speeding away from us. Hubble was wrong. Einstein was wrong. I showed you it speeds up, it slows down. It's a particle. It's a positive and a negative. They flush from the sun and from every luminous body. They saturate space. We're scrubbing against them. That's our reason for our global warming. It has nothing to do with actual carbon. Carbon, yes, is an expansion gas, carbon dioxide, absolutely. But so is steam, and so is every other interaction that creates a solid thing and turns it into gases. So this is the reason we're blowing up our balloons, scrubbing our particles like crazy. Hurricanes, tornadoes, compression of the atmosphere, getting tremendous rains and so forth on coastal areas. And I've studied this very, very well. I'm going to, the book will detail everything, but it's going to detail the people that refuse to engage and have caused us these problems. And that is academia. They've caused us the problems. If they had paid attention years and years and years ago to anybody that stood up, we'd be off this case and we'd have free energy, but right from something like this. I showed you a laser can do fission and fusion. That creates 200 times, not 200%, 200 times. So if we started with a 5-watt laser, we should get 1,000 watts. If we could just get half of that back, 500 watts out of 5, that's 100 times extra energy. Free, portable energy, walking around with, and this is all right off the shelf right now. I'm not allowed to present this. Fermilab has me blocked. Everybody's got me blocked. And because I am going against their interest, which is to say, I'm the expert. If you come and make me look like a fool, then I'm nobody. So I don't want to be nobody. I am the expert. Go away from me. And that's what's happened to me my entire life. And now it's time. The book is going to do, they're going to just, I'm going to talk exactly what happened to me. Because, and I'm going to say the names of the people, like at Harvard, every one of them up at Harvard. At Yale was worse. I thought Yale was the worst, but Harvard's just as bad, every bit as bad. They're all just terrible, absolute terrible. And I think that somebody should look into some kind of legal action, because, a fiduciary means that you're working in the best interest of the person that just paid you to teach them truth. And when truth is presented to the teachers and they can't even ask a question or look, or they turn you away and block you because they don't want that truth being known, that is deceptive at the least. And the way they have this thing configured, you have to pay them, so they extort you, or they say you're not going to get a good job if you don't come here and come to the finest universities, pay the top money. So they extort you. Then if you put any resistance up, they intimidate you, say, don't say that, because if you say that, I'll fail you, keep your money, and you ruin your life. So what are you going to do? You do what they say. And thirdly, if you come up with any evidence to support your side of it, they won't allow it with their peer review process, which is nothing more than racketeering, so that they crush you. And then their responsibility is as a fiduciary to you to make your life better, to make you more productive and happy, and your income and so forth, because you are more knowledgeable. Well, they don't want you getting knowledge. They want you to support them. It's called menticide. You're working against your own interest to support their interests. That's what's happened now. It's become a denialist system, and I don't see why you couldn't call that a criminal organization anymore. And it's systemic. It's not just one of them. It's like a gigantic monopoly of a drain on society and mental abilities. It's forcing a herd mentality now. Graduation day, they're all getting their sheepskins. Okay, one last statement. Like I said, there will be some books, at least one on the complete new physics and particles and so forth, which I have just shown you. And what I plan to do is do like a topic a day, because we have to go through the nuclear core, we have to go through the electron cloud, we have to talk about space, we have to talk about all these different interactions in great detail. So what I'm planning to do is like a video a day going on, like the Schumann resonance frequency. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about other things, one thing after another. because I have to be able to explain all the northern lights and all of these different anomalies they're seeing all around the Earth that nobody has any explanation for. I have to be able to explain them with electron flood theory, and I believe I can, because it is, I believe, factual. Now, if you have questions and so forth, what I'm planning to do is probably once a day for a half hour or so, a Zoom meeting where I'll take questions and give answers if I can, and you know, see what we can come up with together. Because there's going to be all kinds of things that I may have not even thought about. And this is how I do my research. I get so much input from the people that surround me. It's without them, I just, you know, I would never be able to find the things I find without people asking me, can you explain this? Can you explain that? Because that's how I understand it myself. I never even thought about a lot of these things. And that's just the way life is. If you don't start thinking, you're just never going to get to it. If you just accept what somebody tells you, oh, this is how it works. Oh, no. There's carbons out here. They're all carbons, keeping all that stuff down. They're talking about Venus being 800, well, Venus is 850 degrees, but it spins backwards. We are like rolling down a road with the way our planet spins. So it doesn't scrub. It's rolling against the you know, it's a right-hand rule, they call it. And basically, you roll against other particles when and you're going this direction. With a left-hander, you're going backwards, going in this direction. You're scrubbing your particles back against. So it's just like you're driving down the street with your tires going the wrong direction. That's why Venus is 850 degrees. It has nothing to do with a runaway greenhouse effect. That's what they're talking about now. We're going to have 7 missions going out to Venus to figure out this runaway greenhouse effect. It has nothing to do with that. Venus is scrubbing through space backwards. That's the problem. It's just like you're dragging your feet down the road. Obviously, you're going to be heating up. All right, so don't forget, stay tuned for these Zoom meetings. I'm going to figure it out and when we're going to have them. And it'll just be an ongoing thing. Every day it's I don't know what time, say 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern time, something like that. I'll come up with something. I'll post it, and then every video that I do, I will say, today I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. Or maybe I won't even say anything. It's just going to be there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Whatever it is, the schedule will end up being. That's how we'll handle it. And come up with your questions based on the video. Then I will post that video to answer the questions, so that we can get to the end of these things. Because I don't want to just make statements and have no response to them. I want to be able to respond to, you know, reasonable things. Not like, oh, there is no space. Well, don't do that to me, please. I've put up with this for 10 years. You know, please don't do that. Just, this is not the place for that. And I respect your feeling. If you think the earth is flat, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But just don't assault me for not feeling the same way. Thank you. I love you all. God bless you. And we're going to get to the end of this together. And we're going to just have to speak up and not just accept what we're being told, because it's not, the things we're being told just do not stack up, my friends, and that we will discover on our own.